All right, all right. Hey, welcome, Daniel. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for being here. So, where are you coming from today? Where are you sitting?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas right now.
Man, that's awesome. You're always somewhere. I mean, always somewhere different. Every time I see, because you're very active on the social media, so I kind of follow you around. And I'm just here in Tampa, and I love Tampa, but San Antonio is a nice place as well. I kind of spend some time that way as well.
I was in Florida just a few days ago. Great
Oh
place.
man, we should have linked up, but you were up in the Jacksonville area.
I was in Orlando and then Jacksonville and then back again. Yeah.
Okay, outstanding. Well, good deal. Well, let's get right into it, brother. I appreciate you taking your time. Let's talk a little bit about your career and kind of where it started, and take me through what you did up until the day that you decided to get out.
Um, so I was a drill sergeant down at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was down there for a few years. I had a brand new wife and baby. Now they stayed in Chicago because Jeff, your hours is all the time, and so they just figured it'd be better to stay there. And after a couple of years, I had an option to stay another year. And I was talking to my wife about it on the phone, and she's like, "Well, you can stay there, but we won't be here when you come back." So I decided to get out, and I wanted to provide for my family, but I didn't really want to lose that culture I had and that commitment I had with the military. So as I'm pondering my options, with whether it's going back to school or be Blart the mall cop, not a whole lot of opportunities out there for infantry drill sergeants. So I was going through the list, and I decided, what if I found a way where I could provide for my family and keep that connection, that culture. In fact, not just keep that connection, but share that culture of pride and patriotism with everybody in America. So I thought the best way to show off your pride is put it on your back. So I made a few T-shirts, threw in the back of my car, and I traveled around the country.
So before we get to that part, I'm interested to know, based on what I've watched, and I've watched you over the past about 8 months, not like cyber stalking watch you, not that type of watching, but I mean, looking at websites, looking at different things, seeing some interviews, looking at posts, and just your overall demeanor, even from your just typing, it's very much military. It's very, you can see the camaraderie, the passion, the drive, the pride that you have. So I want to ask you, in your time as a drill sergeant, right? As you were raising these soldiers, as they were coming in, and some weren't the brightest of all, but you got to see some pretty cool stuff, and you got to be a part of something bigger than yourself, the Army, right? What did you feel from the leadership perspective? What was that like, as far as grooming these young men to be infantrymen? What was that like?
Well, for me, it was something I always really wanted to do, and it was my opportunity to share with young men of this is my ideal soldier. I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to force you to become the ideal soldier that's in my mind. That's highly disciplined, highly motivated, PT, self-fulfilling, self-motivated, individual warrior, right? And sometimes, you walk around the military service. There's sometimes you see things that you're not so proud of, embarrassing when you're in uniform, and it's usually a lack of discipline or whatever like that. I'm like, here's my opportunity to instill what I feel is the correct way of doing it. Now, it's obviously within the Army's terms. I can't go outside of their boundaries. We have our Bible 350-6 that we have to. But yeah, you remember that, Jeff, don't you?
Too much.
But it was my opportunity, and it really was really exciting for me. Now, as you know, after a couple cycles, it wears on you a bit, but it was still motivating. I absolutely loved doing it, cared for it, and yes, there was long, very hard days, difficult times, but it was something one of the most proud moments in my life.
Yeah. So then you get to the time where, obviously, I mean, I think we've all seen it, whether it be, you choose to stay and rid yourself of the family, or make that decision to go and be with your family. I struggled through that as well during my military career, and it is what it is. I've seen it, and so you decide, I want to be with my new baby, I want to be with my wife, and we're going to do this. Understanding and listening to some interviews that you've done in the past, you talk about your skill set to go out and what am I going to do as an infantry guy? I'm just a drill sergeant. I'm leaving this area. Now I'm going to go out into the world. Well, most people that are on this show are talking about the transition process, and they're going into, corporate America, or going to get a job, or whatever the case may be. And you're actually the first entrepreneur that's on the show, but I do a lot of things in the Tampa area in regards to entrepreneurship. And so you decide I'm going to go in and create this business. What skills did you possess to make you even think that? I mean, you're talking about T-shirts, and I know you drove around the country, but what was it that you possessed that said, I think what the military gave me was X. I'm going to use that to go and make this into a real life business.
I don't think there was any set skill that makes you do that, but I do think that there is a certain belief that which my belief was, outside of just providing for my family, I believe that I really can make an impact by reinstilling these values of pride and patriotism to everyone I come in contact with. I think I can do that. I'm pretty confident in that. And then it's just, set your mission and execute. Set your mission, execute. Which is a very military way of looking at it. So that amongst hundreds of other tools the military gave me, that was one that really got me started and motivated to set a mission and execute.
Outstanding. So you decide I'm going to do this, and I want the viewers to hear. I mean, I love the story. I like how you tell the story about traveling around and doing things. So you decide to go and make this real. You're going to go and make this mission by every step of the way and make it real. How is it that you started? How is it that you actually started to go with T-shirts and actually getting them out of your car?
Is this live right now?
It is.
Oh, do you want me to share it on my page?
Oh yeah, you can. Sure, please.
Yeah, I won't share it on our Grunstall main page, but I'll share it on my my private one at least, right?
That'd be awesome.
How do I do that? I know you're asking questions. I don't know if I'm mixing up your flow.
No, you're good. I don't really have much of a flow, man. I just talk. It's a conversation. We're good.
How do I share this thing? Reactions, viewers. How's this work? What do I do? It's 2018. I'm ready to push buttons.
Come on. See, I'm a combo guy. I get that. I know, we can make fun of each other a little bit right now.
Yeah, you fix the singers by dropping on the ground. It works.
Come on, that's how it
works. Is there a link I can share?
Yeah, the one that man, I don't have the access to it right now to share it.
Is it on your Facebook page?
It is.
I'll just share that. Where's your page?
It's just Jeffrey Lodick. If you just type in my name, Lodick, you'll be good to go. You'll find me. I'm Jeffrey. There's about 400 Lodicks, I guess, nowadays.
If I'm not interrupting with your.
I mean, you're good.
So, should I ask you that earlier before we started?
It is what it is, man.
Change your forecast.
There you go.
Hey, we're friends now.
What's that? We're friends. Look at that.
Because you haven't accepted me as a friend.
Well, I can accept you. We can be friends, man. I mean, it's not real until you're Facebook friends, right?
That is true.
That's the new thing.
All right. And share. And share. And hey.
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Now there we go. So back to, I don't even remember the question, but it sounded good. No, the question was, so tell me the story about when you actually decided, hey baby, I am going to get out and I'm going to sell clothing. Tell me how that actually, well, one, tell me that conversation, the support. Did you get support from your wife, or was that more like a, come on, guy?
Well, you know what? She was very supportive, and but after year after year of I had to get out of drill sergeant duty so I can be home. Now I joined the Illinois Guard afterwards when I got out, so I keep some connection. But now I'm on the road year after year, and she's like, you got out, you spend more time with the family, and you're still gone all the time. Mm-hmm. And business was garbage. I was doing a horrible job. It would bring in 21 grand in the month, but it would cost me 22. Right. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I literally Googled what is business at one point. Just didn't know, right. I was reading every book I can get my hands on. I was driving a lot, so I do a lot of audiobooks, maybe 4 or 6 a month or something. But trying to learn as much as you can. But it's you learn by making a lot of mistakes, and hopefully you can start making the right ones and learn from those mistakes. But the conversation eventually evolved into, hey, it's time to shut this thing down. And that was about 3 years into it.
Wow. And so that comes up. You're about to shut down. What made you decide, or what was the moment that you said, well, maybe we got something here? When did that happen?
Well, it was 2012 January. Wife turns to me and she's like, "Hey, been doing this for a few years. It's not working. It's time to turn this thing, shut it down." And I'm like, "All right, well, let's go to we have our first trade show coming up. It's in Vegas, and I'm like, if we do well there, we can be successful. And if we don't, then we should shut down." She's like, "Sure, that's fine, but what does success look like, right?" Go back to the old military adage, defining your mission, right? And $6,000. If we can do $6,000 at the show, we're gonna do great, And it was a trade show. We're selling to mom and pop Army Navy stores, right? And so I'm like, she agreed, and I'm like, great, you're coming with me. So we jump on the budget airlines, fly standby. We land in Vegas, take the free shuttle to the airport, and then we walk about a mile and a half to the nearest grocery store, and we buy a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. And that's all we ate for the next 2.5 days. Now, she did have one Groupon, so we got to split a hamburger, but the rule was we weren't poor, but definitely broke, if you understand that difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do.
So we're getting by, we're doing okay. And, we hustle the whole show. I make her put on a tight t-shirt. She goes around, brings people back to the table, and I'm wheeling and dealing and trying to close, right? Buy my shirts, man. And so at the end of the show, we jump back on the plane, and I'm tallying up the receipts. She's passed out because she's exhausted. And then she says, I'm tallying up the receipts. And remember, we needed $6,000 as the signs from the infantry gods. We could stay in business, right? And I tally up the receipts, and it's $6,200. It was just enough to be really depressed about staying in business. That's when we realized, yes, it's difficult, but yes, we might have something. And the reason why is to go back to the our experience in the military. We've set a mission, we set an objective, we quantified it. What does success look like? By the end of the show, you need $6,000, and we're able to meet that. And that is proving, you can hit that mission and that objective, you can be successful. And then we started doing some other things, but that was the moment where the company really turned around and we started growing.
Right. And it seems as though the way you progress through time is you would take things that other people were doing well and capitalize on them. I mean, you obviously were a student of being a business owner. I mean, as you talk about having zero and then moving your way through by learning, but I guess in the same sense from the military is you can learn all day long. I mean, right? The definition of leadership is the process of influencing soldiers to accomplish the mission by providing purpose, direction, motivation. But if that was so easy, everybody would do it, right? But there's application. Right. So you're reading and you're applying and you're taking the good and the bad. That's really an awesome story. So I just want to kind of say this because like I said, you are different than the majority of the guests I get that talk about resume writing. They talk about interview skills. They talk about, negotiation processes. You didn't have to concern yourself with that part of the transition so much. Let me ask you this though. As you moved through and passed, you got to the moment where I'm going to continue my business, right? Mm-hmm. What were when you actually grew? Because what did you start with? How many people did you actually start with when you first opened?
I had $1,200 and threw some shirts in the back of my car.
So as you start to build this team, right, and which I think, if I'm mistaken, correct me. I think you're at about 500 members now.
It's about 500. Yep.
Yeah. So you to grow that team, what did you look at from that perspective? When you how did you look to bring in military people to help you, or because you were looking for a certain characteristic maybe, or what were you looking for to build that team?
Absolutely. So we don't just hire veterans, but we do have a veteran priority, and the reason why is our culture to influence that culture of pride and patriotism. We want it to come from that military culture. It's very important for us to have a very heavy saturation of veterans, and it fluctuates from time to time. We'll go through growth spurts, and then then we'll level off, and then we'll grow again. So sometimes it'll be as high as 70%, sometimes it'll be as low as maybe 35%. But usually we like to maintain about half as veteran pool.
That's awesome. So, if anybody wants to check you out, going to gruntstyle.com, www.gruntstyle.com. I got to tell you something, man. And this is no joke, right? So I love your mission statement. It's great. I watched you on Fox and Friends, and then they brought you back, which was awesome. I was like, man, this guy's awesome. I mean, it's because when you look at your mission statement, you talk about pride in self in military and in country. Who doesn't want to wear that? I mean, a military person, who doesn't want to wear that? And not even military folks, patriotic folks, right? But I got to be honest with you now when I say this. You say it says you don't have to be a veteran, right, to wear grunt style, but you have to love freedom, bacon, and whiskey. I got to tell you, brother, I love freedom and bacon. I'm not a whiskey guy, but I try my hardest, right?
That's okay. Have you tried our new bourbon yet? Because I'm not a whiskey guy either. I've always wanted to like whiskey or bourbon because it's very American. Mm-hmm. I just don't like it. It's gross. It's disgusting. It tastes like battery acid. And then we spent about 6 months developing this flavor with a Marine vet friend of mine called Derek, and he helped us develop this awesome flavor of bourbon. You tried this yet?
I haven't, but I'm going to make a deal with you.
All right.
On June 2nd, you're coming down to Tampa to be a judge in a veteranpreneur pitch contest, right? The Florida Veterans Pitch Contest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be there, right? And I'm going to bring a bottle of it. And after all of it's said and done, I'll take a shot for the first time, but you have to do it with me.
All right. We'll do it live.
Outstanding. That'll be great.
You got to be honest. If it sucks, you can tell me it sucks. It's gorgeous flavor, by the way. Otherwise, I wouldn't drink it. Because I told him, he's like, let's do a bourbon. I'm like, I would, but I don't like it. I'm not going to sell something I don't like. So he's like, what if I work on the flavor with you? I'm like, okay. So we worked on the flavor. He knows what he's doing. And it took about 6 months. And I'm telling you, it's absolutely delicious. Probably a little delicious for a 90 proof, which makes
it dangerous too, right?
Definitely. You become dangerous, yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wow, that actually leads me into something pretty interesting. So one, you started off with t-shirts. Now, if you go to gruntstyle.com and you look at all your apparel, I was blown away by the selection of items, because in my mind, when I looked back in the day, I mean, grunt style is not new for people that are around, right? You started in 2011, but it's obviously it's almost a household name nowadays, as was your goal when you had started. But you have everything, to even dress shirts, right? I mean, you have dress clothing. Yes. It's crazy to me. But then,
yeah, it's great. Yeah, so we actually started in 2009 as well, when I was getting transitioning the first time off the trail. I got called back later, so that's why my years are starting to extend. But the dress shirts, we opened up a factory down here in San Antonio. That's what we're doing here now. Open a brand new factory. Now we're making these all ourselves, cut and sew factory. Handmade. They're awesome. We call them the Lexington collection, as Lexington and Concord is shot heard around the world, because we're bringing American manufacturing back. And not only we're bringing it back, and it's not, I don't want to make it some hammy play like, oh, buy our stuff, you should feel bad for us because we're veterans or we're making America. It's none of that. I'm saying F you, the rest of the world. I'm going to do it better than you. I'm going to do it faster than you. And I'm going to make the best product out there.
Yeah. Hey, so I got to tell you, while you're saying that, so I received this in the mail a little bit ago, right? I ordered something because I do support veteran-owned businesses. I do it locally as well as everywhere else. But I love the branding, right? Because your brand is on there. That's the first item I've ever bought online, which I do all my purchases pretty much online. The fact that it was on a label when I got it, I was like, my wife says to me, "What's this?" I didn't tell her I was buying it. I just bought it. And she says, what is it? I said, look, don't worry about that. But it's pretty cool, because now I couldn't say that it was something my mother ordered, because she didn't order anything from Grunt Style. But I'll tell you what I did do, though, is I bought a sweatshirt, and it's a hoodie. And I love it. I mean, honest to God, I put it on. It's comfortable. It's made out of great material. I mean, I truly, because I'm a hoodie guy at nighttime when I ride my motorcycle, which I don't have. I have to get a new one, but I love it. Anyway, that's great. Now, I appreciate you. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to buy about 20 shirts, because I got to ask you now that I just did that. I just picked up a shirt that it's yours, right? How do you feel when you're standing or sitting or even in a situation like this, when someone that you've never met before is wearing an item of clothing that you made?
If I see them in public, 9 times out of 10, I'll come up to that person. I won't tell them, at most I'll tell them I work for Grunt Style. I don't I don't want to make anything weird or anything. But I'm like, hey man, love your shirt. And I'm wearing grunge style too, so they'll get that right away. So that's pretty common. Most people are like, awesome, thanks, man, you too, right?
Yeah.
One time I did I totally messed it up. It was traveling all day. Probably had a couple drinks on the flight anyway, and so I get Chicago O'Hare, and I'm just walking towards the exit. They have huge terminals there, right? And I'm walking by, and the guy's right next to me. And I always spot grunt style at the airports every time, right? But the guy next to me, he's wearing grunt style, and so am I. So I walk up next to him, like side by side. I'm on his right side, right next to his right shoulder. And I look over him, and like for some reason, I look right into his face. I'm like, I like your shirt. What the hell, man? And he's and I'm like, no, messed that one up.
I mean, I really like your shirt, but I got to go.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, don't talk to me anymore.
That's awesome. That's so funny, man. So now you went from a $1,300 company. You're over $100 million now as an organization, which I think is absolutely crazy. I mean, it's just, I mean, when you think about it, I can't even imagine, right? That you like, because we're talking about, I have to make $6,000 in sales to keep this open. Now I'm $100 million company and still growing. That's got to be a pretty good feeling, huh?
100% of the credit goes to. I mean, sure, I got, but I mean, it wouldn't be anywhere without not only the amazing team that we have internally that get that mission and are trying to working hard to execute every single day. But honestly, how it resonates with the fans who I truly believe when we do events and we get to interact with people, they get it. You know what I mean? They get what we're trying to do. We're not a political arm, and I'm not trying to turn everyone into a veteran. What we're trying to do is take that same appreciation of patriotism that vets have and give it to everybody else. And and it's not just a t-shirt. You can go out in Walmart and get a 3-pack for $8. I get that. What we do is, we want to instill a sense of pride. You should be proud to be an American. Sure, we'll make mistakes, whatever. We're still the best damn country that's ever existed, and we the best military that's walked on this planet since the Roman legions 2,000 years ago. There's a lot we should be proud of, a lot we should appreciate, and it's delicate. It could disappear in a generation if we're not vigilant. And our responsibility to do that is to at least recognize and appreciate the freedoms that we've had up to this point.
Outstanding, man. That's awesome, man. I'm motivated. Like, hey, look, I'll market for you for free. You're not gonna pay me. I'll take shirts and I'll just give them out, man. I want to see them everywhere as well. Hey, so what I found to be truly interesting, a couple months ago, I saw in the news, there was some Richard Petty Motorsports, Spencer Boyd, the car race guy in NASCAR.
You see Spencer's big crash in Talladega last weekend?
No, I didn't. I didn't catch it.
It wasn't his fault, but there was a crash, and you're going 160 plus miles an hour, and there's a crash right in front of you. You're going straight into it, so he hit it head on. It was great coverage for us on TV. Spencer's okay, but it was a bummer to see. We like to see him finish, but he's a good driver, great guy too.
So let me ask you that. So now, not only are you doing that, you're doing bourbon. You're working with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're expanding way past a T-shirt. I saw MMA folks wearing your clothes. I was watching an event maybe about a month ago, and there was like 5 people wearing grunt style stuff. It's just really interesting to see the level of difference, right? You got MMA. You got. There's just so many layers of different, and I love seeing it. So tell me the idea behind that. As far as targeting, right? So now we're talking kind of business, but just wondering how you go about your targeting market when you're looking at
absolutely
so far.
So our overarching mission is always to make everyone in America patriotic, right? Every home in America is a patriotic one. Now we can't do that if I'm only communicating with vets. Vets are our number one ambassador, right? So we have to keep that as our core market, but we can't communicate that message of patriotism and pride without reaching outside of that. So we look for markets that, who should have good affinity with us, appreciation for the military, first line responders, should be patriotic. And so we look for crowds like that, and we try to get involved. So it might be UFC, it might be NASCAR, et cetera. Patriotic crowds, or at least some appreciation for them in the military. And we work out some sort of deals of trying to intermingle our crowds. I want their crowd to be exposed to us because I want them, sure, yes, we want the business that helps us grow. I can hire more vets, build more factories. That's great here in America. But on the other hand, it helps us fulfill our long-term objective of repatriating the United States.
That's awesome. So now, as we talked about your one thing I love is that you hire veterans, and it's not all veteran, which is great. I mean, like I try to tell folks when I talk to them about transitioning when I was still in, and having them leave, even since I've left, it's not a us versus them. So it's not about everybody needs to be a veteran to be great, and I'm not going to buy non-veteran organizations. I just like to support them, right? So as you're hiring veterans to and work in your area, what are some of the things that you look for in them as you're hiring? I mean, someone that applies at grunt style, it's not, I mean, and this isn't just military folks, but I mean, it's in general. What are some of those leadership characteristics that they need to bring to the table to even be representing you as an organization?
So I don't do much of the hiring anymore, as you can imagine. Senior level people, sure, I'm involved in those interview processes, but I do know that what has gotten up to this point, and still today in many of the processes that we find, is the same thing that, and I know you recognize when you're a drill. I can teach anybody anything, but I can't change attitude, and I won't even try. Right? You have a broke attitude, I don't want you here. You're going to be a cancer. You need to be gone. So if you're coming in entry level and you're highly motivated and you got a great attitude and want to work part of a team, guess what? Got a spot for you. May not be the position you want, because you were flipping burgers at McDonald's, 2 weeks ago, doesn't mean you're going to be a great marketer today. However, get your foot in the door. You can work on maybe our production team or fulfillment team, and then you can apply once you understand the brand, and we'll give you opportunities to participate in events. But for senior level managers, same thing. Yeah, sure, you may have 15 years of chops out on the streets doing X, Y, and Z. But if you don't have the attitude of your team first and accomplishing the objective as a team, got no place for you here. If you think you're going to come in and try to be superhero and take all the credit, don't want you here. And believe me, we're a fairly large organization. We get that time and time again. Sometimes we get it from vets. It's rare, but sometimes you get it, right? But sometimes you get it from the civilian sector. At the end of the day, it's people that matter. Love hiring vets because we've got phenomenal experience and background, and especially that culture they come from complement what we're trying to do as our overarching mission.
Yep. And I love the character of your company. I mean, your website speaks volumes. I mean, you can see that I see the military relationship in it. I mean, especially in the infantry style of a relationship. I watched some of your videos that you guys have. You have a lot of things on YouTube that they're. I mean, it's just interesting to watch some of that stuff, and it actually makes you feel kind of like at home. You know what I mean? Which is really nice, and I like that. Now, if you had a piece of advice right now, and this is normally I say if you had one piece of a piece of advice for a transitioning veteran, I kind of want you to give me an advice for a aspiring entrepreneur as they're leaving the military. What is it that you would tell them as they're getting ready to transition? Because we do know that your steady paycheck goes away. There are family responsibilities that you have. There's a lot of things to consider. What would you give these gentlemen and ladies that are trying to go out there and become the next grunt style or Daniel Alarik? What is it that you would give them?
Sure. Well, understand it. I mean, I spent 3 years in my car not making money. There is no instant success. You can walk into our building and you hear that sometimes, like, wow, look what you did overnight. I'm like, yeah, sure, I wish. But there's a few things that the Army gives you that you have an advantage on over a lot of other people, and you need to recognize what those are, and you should take advantage of those tools. Mm-hmm. Some of the tools that are in your tool belt is being mission focused, not just mission focused, but being able to quantify an objective. You'll see a lot of people like, yeah, I want to make more money, or yeah, I want to help some more people, or yeah, I want to stop this or do this. The problem is those aren't quantitative goals; those are qualitative goals. And if you've ever done an NCOUR, there's a big quantitative tells me I want what by when, right? What is very specific. It should be a number of some sorts, right? I want to help 30 veterans, get a job by the end of this year. So now measure what success looks like. So that's one big tool that the military instills in you that you should take an advantage, and you'll be immensely successful with just recognizing that. Some of the tools that the military doesn't give you, though, is sales. I mean, unless you're a recruiter, you're not part of a sales process. You don't have to be. I know some people are going to tell you, oh, you can put on your resume, you have to sell yourself at the NCO board or whatever. That's not really, it's not the same whatsoever. Recruiting, sure, there's definitely a lot in common there, but that's a very rare duty assignment. So, it's like your drill sergeant service, Jeffrey. Learning how to sell is going to be important. And that is a process you can learn through books, you can learn through a job or whatever like that, but you really need to learn how to sell. And selling is not as hard as people make it sound to me. It's very, very simple because it's, unless you're trying to grease someone up and sell them a lemon, that's hard because you're making it hard because you're selling someone BS.
Right.
Sales shouldn't be that. It's first I need to find someone who needs something, right? Needs something that I have. And then I need to introduce myself. Hey, you, this is me. This is what I can do to help. And then you listen to them. As soon as they'll tell you what they want. If you deliver on what they want, you say, I can do that for you. And this is what it's going to take you. You ask for the sale and you close it. If they say no, say no worries. Go to the next person. That's it. It's not hard.
That's awesome. So it's funny you say that, right? So I didn't know how to sell. That was one of my weakest points. So I went and got a job at a car at a Ford dealership.
Yeah.
But what I learned very quick is that you don't have to sell an item. The item sells itself. People come to buy the item. You have to sell yourself. How do I sell myself? And you don't have to do it too hard. You have a conversation. Find out what they want, what makes them happy. And you're everything you just said, obviously $100 million worth of that knowledge just came out, right? So it obviously works. And I had a good time in which doing it. But anyhow, the one thing I would like to tell the listeners is this. If you're not following Daniel on LinkedIn, do so. What I love about what you do is you praise your workers all the time. You give great information on LinkedIn. It's always value added, but more importantly, as a leader, you talk about the people that make your organization what it is. And I think it's very honorable and it's humbling and it's really cool to see from grown folks, especially from a guy who you're not down here anymore. You know what I mean? You're moving your way up and you're still very humble. And I love hearing it. It's awesome.
Hey, Jeffrey, so one question that I get a lot is, when did you feel like you made it, Dan? And someone asked me that yesterday, and I'm like, it was when I was able to walk into a gas station and buy an energy drink without having to check my bank account. That was the big moment.
Hey, well, I'm going to tell you. Then I'm still looking for that moment, but it's coming. I can feel it. No, we're good. That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, so I'm going to ask you. And so I know your time is valuable, and I don't want to hold you forever. I know you got stuff to do. But I am going to ask you this. We end the show with a "you can't make this up" story. So, and a lot of times it's like when you were in the military. Obviously, I think as a drill sergeant, you saw a million of them. And I mean, if we go back and forth trading stories about our time on a trail, we'd probably be here until 11 o'clock tonight. But we won't do that. But I would love to hear a story from you that you can't make up.
Sure. Off the top of my head, you want to talk drill sergeant? Sure. I was running. It was either on battalion or brigade staff duty when I was a drill. And so I have the TMC vehicle, right? You got basically it's a van, like a 18-passenger van or 15-passenger van. And one of the battalion staff's like, hey, can you run this over to the hospital? It's like, 2 a.m. I'm like, sure, where you at? And he's like, well, we just dropped these kids off from the field. They're at the battalion headquarters for whatever. I'm like, sure. So I go pick them up. And it's this two Joes, two privates. And I'm like, what are you going to the hospital for? He's like, a rash, drill sergeant. I'm like, what do you mean it's a rash? Because this guy couldn't sit down, right? So there's something wrong. I'm like, explain or I'm going to stop this car. Nobody's going to the hospital. And he's like, my battle buddy betted me like $20 that I couldn't sit butt naked on this fire ant hill for a minute. $20? He's like, I sure did, drill sergeant. Like, all right, let's continue mission.
Oh man, hey, so I'm just going to tell you one, right? But I just got to tell you. So we had a field exercise, and I told we had males and females at Fort Jackson, and I I told the girls that, or not, the female soldiers, they were over in an area where they were sleeping. It's very similar, but I was talking to them specifically because in their area there was a bush that had berries, right? And I said, hey, listen, don't eat those. They're poison berries. You'll get sick and you don't need to eat them. Da, 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 da. Well, about 2 o'clock in the morning, because we're in a different area for the CP, I hear the drill sergeants call, or the soldiers calling, drill sergeant loaded, permission to speak. And I'm sleeping, you know, and I hear him. I'm like, what? Hey, what? She's like, drill sergeant, she ate the boysenberries. And I said, she ate the what? The boysenberries. I said poison berries.
Boysenberry.
Puking all over. I was like, look, I don't know even where boysenberries grow, but they're not in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. But anyway, it was silly, but there's a million of those. There was some funny stories out there with those guys.
A lot of them I don't want to repeat while being recorded.
There you go. Hey, so listen, Daniel, I'm gonna let you run and do your thing, but listen, I gotta truly tell you, I appreciate what you're doing. I do have one last question before I cut you loose. Are there any programs out there, any veteran programs, whether they're nonprofit or anything like that, that either you support or you work together with throughout anywhere that you're ever at? 'Cause I know you're all over the place, but is there any specific programs that you deal with?
Geez, I mean, if I named one, I would miss out 100 because we work with so many, and so many are absolutely amazing. You know, we have go-to charities we work with, but we work with a dozen others. You know, I'd hate to.
Yeah, I got you. It's understandable.
You can visit our website. You'll see dozens of charities, all veteran related that we support directly. They're all amazing. We vet them. They're fantastic people who actually care, who believe in a mission, and we're helping them to do whatever we can to execute it.
Outstanding. That's great. Anyway, I thank you for your time, and hey, I appreciate you. Anything you need from us, let us know. We'll see you June 2nd. I'll bring the bottle. I'll wear my shirt. I'll bring some extra shirts for maybe you can sign them like the athletes sign their shirts. You get people framed. That'll be great. But,
let's do it.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Outstanding.